welcome to the Bullcast Podcast. I'm Katie Pickler, and with me is Court Winsett.
Bingo!
And Cameron Spin.
Bingo?
No. Court's all sassy over here wearing a Subaru Wilderness hat. Are you a Wilderness boy?
Listen, I'm all about hats right now. Let's just not get into my hair.
Okay.
But it's
We'll do an
terrible.
episode on hats. We'll spin that for later. Okay, guys, I'm so excited. We've got another guest, but before we get into it, I'll tell you this guest is with a car dealership. Mm-hmm. And so we thought that for fun, let's do our pop culture list on TV/movie salespeople. Ultimately, with the car business, you kind of have that picture in that head of that sleazy car salesman, which I think our guest is going to kind of help us debunk if that's real or...
Listen, I just bought a car recently, and I'll probably say this several times during the episode. And my experience was that the salespeople at the dealership that I went to, which just so happens to be the dealership that we're talking with today, they were very, very far from sleazy. So I don't think that's an issue anymore. But some of the people on this list that we've got, I think some of these guys were sleazy.
I know I'm going to tell you guys, we want to talk about these movies till we're blue in the face, but I really want to get to the guests. So let's kind of round robin the list of these and then know that on future episodes, we'll tell our love about these movies.
Well,
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
And The Wolf of Wall Street.
The Pursuit of Happiness.
The Big Short.
Door to Door.
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Moneyball, which is a great movie.
Wall Street.
Jerry Maguire. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Death of a Salesman.
The Founder.
Tommy Boy.
Oh, I love Tommy Boy so much.
Oh, I killed it.
Callahan Auto Parts.
Boiler Room.
Used Cars.
Finally, and I am going to actually have to comment on this one, Cadillac Man with Robin Williams as a car salesman. This leads perfectly into our car dealership guest, but also I just want to point out Cadillac Man, the movie that Robin and I saw on our first date.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's amazing. I have one more movie to add that is not on here. Have you ever seen Matilda?
yes.
Danny DeVito
Danny
was the
DeVito.
sleaziest
Yes.
car salesman
He was.
ever.
Oh my! I can picture him now. You remember when
With the bleach
hat,
blonde toupee and the hat.
the hat in his hair. Oh, hopefully you're never buying a car from a Danny DeVito and Matilda.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there is your rapid fire list. Let's get right to our guest, Katie. Who is our guest today?
Okay, we promised we have another guest. We have some.
We are guest heavy this season. We are just like bringing in all the guests.
But I mean, we got to do this.
Well, I mean,
people
we
get
made it-
tired of hearing us talk all
Yes,
the time.
they do. Yes, they do.
Okay, so we brought in somebody from the car industry.
Indeed.
Ferrari, right?
I wish.
We have Caleb. He is with Subaru, and we're excited to have him.
How are you guys doing today?
We are superb. I was actually over at Subaru the other day because my wife and I just bought a car for our daughter from y'all. So it's interesting that you should be in here. I think it was Monday we were over there. So, yeah.
Finally got, but you didn't get your Subaru. I know it's still on your list.
I did not. I finally got a Subaru and I had to turn it over to my daughter immediately. So that was fun for me.
Okay, so Caleb, tell us who you are, kind of your history with the car business, and then what you do now.
I started with Jim Karras Subaru in November of 2014.
Wow.
I was in college and I was looking to help pay for college, and the car industry seemed like a good idea. Rick McCullum is somebody that helped bring me into Jim Karras at one time. He's now retired, but the car industry's changed quite a bit even since I started in it. Obviously, with the pandemic, everything's changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, supply chain, financials, obviously on that side with any type of stock market or bank loans, especially with interest rates right now. But with Subaru, it's been a very interesting company to work with because the brand has grown, and the way that they treat their customers is very different than even say our Chevy and Nissan store. The customer outreach and the way that they like to really bring that customer experience to a different level of not just saying that you're at a typical car dealership buying a typical brand. They really do go above and beyond on that side. And the pandemic was very interesting because with Subaru, what they did is they dialed back their inventory instead of sending everything out. They knew that something was going to happen, and so they actually kind of brought back the inventory a little bit of what was coming to the dealership to try to spread it over the next few months when it first happened, because we weren't sure. And that's really smart leadership from a corporate side as well, because, you know, if you look at Ford or Chevy, all they did was produce everything and then it sat there because A, they didn't have the parts, and B, the lots that at the beginning of the pandemic were already full. So you overproduce, you mass produce on that side, and then you have cars that are sitting and then potentially could have issues. And that's what we've seen a lot of electronic issues is what we see more common in today's world than, you know, what it would have been 10, 15 years ago.
Let's take a step back for a second. I'd like to know specifically what you do at Subaru at the dealership. What are you doing right now?
I'm a finance manager.
Okay. What does that mean?
I handle bank loans or any type of deal structuring for whether you pay cash, finance, bring in your own outside financing, warranty products. So any type of aftermarket product that you'd like to cover your vehicle for any repairs, anything like that. And
Okay, so like for instance, the other day we had a sales guy that helped us actually with the car.
Correct.
Like found the car for us, and we got the deal with him. And then he turned us over to, I think Josh was his name?
Yeah, Josh is my partner.
Okay, so he does the same thing that you do?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
He's
okay.
the finance director.
Okay.
Josh has been with the Karras about the same amount of time. He worked at the Chevy store before the Subaru store. He was the finance director at the Chevy store. But I've done a little bit of everything. I was a salesperson. I was in internet sales. I was the internet director when the new store opened. I've been a desk manager. With the job position I do now, I work deals just as much as I go into the finance. But my main job is definitely deal structuring and everything. And then, you know, there's clerical work to it as well, making sure everything's billed out, getting driver's license, insurance coverage, everything in between on that side.
So people come in nowadays, I guess, like Katie, you already referenced the fact that there's no longer a haggle. There's no longer a...
Well, you and I were talking about that before.
Okay.
That, yeah, how... So obviously, yes, you have the unfortunate pleasure of working with my husband as well. He did not want to be on this podcast because I don't even think he listens, but we're excited to have you here. But yes, I've learned a lot about the car industry from being around him and his family, and I would just go and buy a car. That's it. I didn't have a relationship. So when you talked about that relationship, that was new. But to court your comment, yes, you see in movies and stuff, it was like they were haggling with cars, and that's not happening anymore.
A lot of it probably comes in on your end of because people are more interested in, okay, whatever the price is, this is what I can afford to pay on a monthly basis. How can we work that out?
Subaru definitely tends to be a little bit different of a manufacturer on the clientele that it attracts. We definitely attract a lot of doctors, attorneys, typically a little bit higher educated clientele base. And so it's not so much monthly payment. I mean, a lot of our customers are definitely concerned about the whole
interest rate,
everything, the interest rate, the bottom line, your monthly payment, obviously, but it's all a combination of things where like at our Nissan store, yes, it is more about the monthly payment, no matter who they're working with. Not always. I mean, you still get different people, but it is more of something where they're looking, you know, I need to be at $450 a month and this is my budget, so on and so forth. Subaru, this month alone, especially with interest rates on the rise, we've had a lot of cash. Probably currently sitting at this month, our finance control is probably around 60%. Usually we
What does that mean?
So 60% of the deals that we've turned have been financed. The other 40% has been cash or outside lien, whichever. But this month, I think mostly it has been actual cash, not outside lien. And so usually we float around 75%. So it's about 15% lower than normal. But you know, it just shows that when interest rates go on the rise, people tend to freak out because it's understandable. But the problem right now is obviously inflation. That's what's causing it. And it affects our business just as much as any other business. But when you talk about the auto industry as a whole, it's a very large chunk of our economy. If you were to close everything in the auto industry, our economy would fail. It is a very big piece of the economy. And
well, I know I guess it was back in 2008 during that crash, during the Great Recession, that several of the big autos had to be helped.
Yes, yeah. Well, they did that Cash for Clunkers program too that were rolled out, but that might have been right before then. But that's a whole nother conversation of why that happened. But
you know, we're in the relationship industry for sure. Is that
right.
Yes, we happen to have a law firm, accounting firm, and financial, but at the end of the day, we're the people business. We
Right.
want to take care of our people. Because I know from what you said, like Subaru very much is valued that when they sell you a car, it's not that you never talk to that salesman or finance guy again. even if it's a service issue, whatever, y'all are still available. Is that unique more towards Subaru, or is that kind of where the car industry is going?
So that also comes from the dealership organization. So the leadership from the owner to the general manager, that has a lot to do with it. But Subaru as a whole, yes, that they do lead that more community involvement, because Subaru runs a lot of different programs throughout the year, like Share the Love that we do every year. That's we run that from November through December. We donate $250 to a charity of your choice, and every location has a local charity that they can donate to as well, which is very unique. You don't see that from other manufacturers. And then like we just did the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of America. We're doing Subaru Loves Learning. So we've sponsored a school. It's over off of Shelby Drive. It's an elementary school. We're donating books and supplies and things that help in the classroom, because the big thing with Subaru this year, and I know this is a little off topic of what we're doing, but
it's great.
Teachers spend a lot of money out of their own pocket on school goods. And so this year, Subaru is more focused not just on the student, but the teacher, because, you know, the student is going to excel because of the teacher. And this is really cool, because they really do need help sometimes, because as inflation has caused it, school supplies are more expensive. It's harder to get things. So it's very cool to see a manufacturer at a corporate level actually making sure that the dealerships are individually going out, reaching out in the community, and making sure that our name's out there as well, because it has turned more towards that relationship side of business. Most of the time in today's world, people that go car shopping, they don't want to just come in and sit down, buy a car, and then never come back to that dealership. They do want to create a relationship. So
I'm a terrible car person, because I'm like, just give me a car, let me get out. But I'm the exception, not the rule.
Well, and that happens, definitely. It's more like when people come in now, you're spending $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 on a car, where 15 years ago, the average price of a vehicle was $28,000. In today's world, it's $37,000, and that's from NADA. Trucks. My dad had F-250s most of my life, and he had a 04 King Ranch, which, you know, was top of the line for a Ford diesel pickup truck. It was $44,000. We still have the original window sticker to it. Go look at a brand new F-250 right now. It's probably
Lord.
$85,000, $86,000.
I have a dream car that I looked at recently, and I just wanted to like build it out and price it on the website. So I just wanted to see how much it would cost, and I did it, and it was like $85,000, and I was like, "There's no way I'm ever going to be able to afford this car." And it was a high-end brand car that I was looking at. And then I went over, I was like, I just need to get a pickup truck. So I went over and built out a Ford to see how much that would be. And it was the same price.
But I think what's also changed is, so actually we've had two people in our Pickler family here that have recently bought Subarus. One went from a much older car and now is just blown away with all the bells and whistles and buttons. And so I think that's probably a difference too, is before you pretty much like, hey, thanks, here's my car, I know how to drive it, I'm not going to need you until like an oil change or something goes wrong. Nowadays, there's so many
They're
buttons
like rocket ships on wheels.
Yeah, so you've got to have somebody you can call and text or say like, okay, I can't get the headlights turned off, or I can't get this. How do you do that?
This is kind of interesting off of that note. So when we went to the moon, the technology that was on the spacecraft that went to the moon, I don't know about all vehicles, but this was just a comparison that I saw online. The current Yukon Denali, the 2022, has more technology in it than the space shuttle that went to the moon.
Wow.
It's a little different, obviously, but technology has come that far that there's so many things going on in these vehicles that, for instance, like when I go over warranties, I'm not worried about powertrain. And that's what we do is, especially like here at Pickler advising, like you advise people on what you should do. And that's how our process has been tailored, is we're there more as advisors. We're not trying to sell a product. We're trying to give you the advice of what could and possibly might happen. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20, and that's what we look out for people because with electronics nowadays, you can't work on it. If it goes bad, it's over with. There's nothing you can do on that side to fix it. We can diagnose it, order the part, and that's the other issue. Can I get the part, and how expensive is that part? That is the biggest problem, because the radios in these vehicles are anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000. And when you look at the radios, you can't just go to a radio store and plop a aftermarket radio in it.
Yeah.
Half your vehicle functions are located in that screen. So
I mean, I got in the car that we got our daughter. I got in, and there's basically an iPad. I mean,
it's an 11.2 22-inch
It's
tablet-sized screen. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, they've got the headlights that move and
Yeah.
It's the steering responsive headlights.
Yeah.
But it's the thing is also, it's not even just the inside, because you think about back in the day, like you'd hit your bumper or something, like you could replace just that piece of plastic.
Well, there's sensors everywhere. So like your headlights, a 2015 Outback, a headlight on that's probably $450. I'm just, shooting in the dark. These current headlights, with the way they steer, like they move, they're about $1,200 each side.
Golly.
And so when you look at it that way, when you're in an accident, when we talk about GAP claims, I assume that probably everybody sitting here knows what GAP is.
Go ahead and explain for our listeners.
GAP is called Guaranteed Asset Protection. What that's doing for you is if you're in a total loss scenario on your vehicle, your insurance company comes in and they say that the vehicle market value is $20,000, but you owe $25,000. Obviously, you still owe the difference between what the insurance company is giving you and your loan balance. GAP is what steps in and pays the difference for you on that side. Now, obviously, most dealerships offer it. A lot of times your insurance companies offer it, but 9 times out of 10, whatever your dealership offers is actually a better product than what your insurance company provides. So like when the reason we state it like that is, so like the GAP that we use at Jim Karras covers 150% of market. So if you owe $28,000 on a vehicle that's worth 20, I cover all the way up to 30 because it's 150%. State Farm covers 115%, which is just about nothing. Most loans too, float anywhere between 105 and 120% loan to value. At least not at Subaru. Everybody puts 20 grand down at Subaru, but
So on the financing part, because I know we've talked about this on some episodes, and I've had conversations with the clients about this. So when they're coming to get a new car, people always toggle between the idea of trading in their current vehicle, or they go, oh, I can make more selling it myself. What are kind of some thoughts, experiences that you've had with that?
So CarMax, Carvana, Zoom, and I may be forgetting one, but a lot of these online retailers, if you want to call them that have grown quite a bit because of the pandemic, have influenced used car prices tremendously. And then also rental companies, because a lot of manufacturers are not allowing Enterprise or Penske, like anybody that rents vehicles out, they're not allowing them to buy new vehicles. So they go to auction and find a 20,000 mile car and they'll pay whatever they want to pay for it. And if it's 10 grand over what book says, they'll buy it because they need it. Well, that influences your auction prices, your Kelley Blue Book prices, all the algorithms that make that vehicle value what it is changes just strictly because of the inventory shortage on that side, which also influences when you trade a vehicle. You're going to get more money for what your car is worth right now than you ever would have. Yeah. And even though you may not be getting anything off MSRP, if you got $5 grand more for your car and you would have only gotten $2,000 off of, say, a Subaru Outback, you actually still won at the end. You see what I mean? Like with the way the numbers work out on that side. And that's where it's changed quite a bit. Like I have a 2013 Honda Accord. It has 66,000 miles on it. I paid $12,000 for that car in 2019. Kelley Blue Book, good trade-in on that car right now is $15,400. And I've put 30,000 miles on it in 3 years.
Wow.
So that's the type of stuff that you see quite a bit of right now. Do I think my car is worth that? No, I do not. But
well, it's like
somebody out there says it is.
Exactly. So because this is another conversation I have with clients all the time, is they're like, oh, well, I think I may need a car at some point. Maybe give some insight, because I'm driving by car lots and they're pretty empty for the most part. And so I mean, I guess it's one of those, it's not as easy for somebody to walk in and be like, I want a candy apple red Ascent or something. I don't even know if you'll make candy apple red.
It's not called candy apple, but
okay,
we do
sorry.
make a red Ascent. If you're potentially looking for a vehicle, it is better to start now than later. And that's in most purchase process, though. Any type of, I would say, classification of any purchase over $500. If you're shopping for a washer, dryer, refrigerator, it doesn't matter right now. Anything that is a electronic device of some sort, it is better to start earlier than later, because it's good to find out what inventory is out there, what you want to buy, what research you need to do to make sure you're buying appropriately and from the right people. Because like here at the Karrases, we do not mark up over MSRP. You can't say that that about a lot of dealers right now. And that's something that our leadership has chosen to do. The Karises are very family orientated because they want to treat people the correct way, because especially with what's going on right now, if you're treated the right way now and then 5 years later you need another vehicle, you're going to remember that experience that, even though what was going on, that we didn't get treated any differently. And that's something that we've focused on, because since vehicle prices are out of whack, we don't need to be changing that just because of that fact. It's not our fault, but it's also not consumers' fault. They didn't do anything to cause it either on that side. But yeah, it's definitely better to get ahead of the ball, because if you end up looking at used cars and finding out how expensive they are, it may sometimes be more beneficial to buy a new car. And right now, it's if it's from overseas, 4 to 6 months.
Gosh.
It just depends.
So if your car's on the fritz now,
I delivered
you're
a Forester.
behind.
Yep, I delivered a Forester last week that they placed their deposit for $500 January 11th. Yeah.
And so that's typically with people ordering, they're having to put down a deposit and then pick it.
That was a Forester,
Okay.
is what that was. Like Outbacks, 2 to 3 months. So they're built in Lafayette, Indiana. So the parts do still come from Japan. About 45% of the vehicle is still Japanese. But it's one of those things that we have a big warehouse there. And so we do have a lot of parts to build vehicles. So Ascents, Outbacks, Imprezas, Legacies, all of those vehicles are more attainable. And dealer trades is something that Subaru's been real big with. You don't really do a lot because most dealers now don't have inventory, or if they have something that's not sold, they're not willing to give it up to get what you have because they know they're going to sell it. So it's like a cat and mouse game. It's like, do we call them? Do we not call them?
Yeah. Well, and y'all's cars are, I've ridden in a couple of them. They're very safe. They really have a lot of safety features, which I think is good for, like Court, your daughter, driving across the country, going to school, having that safety net around her.
Listen, a big consideration for us was in purchasing the car that we got her was, okay, she's going to be driving this literally all the way across the country to the other coast.
Yeah.
And she's going to be over there without us. And so if anything goes wrong on the road, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be taken care of. If anything goes wrong when she's over on the other coast, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be taken care of. And we obviously wanted her to be safe, because the reason we were buying her a car was because she got slammed into on her way home from college this past summer. So, we've had experience with her being in an accident. We didn't want to be worried about that again. So
yeah, I had to drive one home one day, and it yelled at me like several times on like my 5-minute drive. Like, your eyes are off the road. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't have this because it's just going to yell at me the whole time.
So
Go back to the Lexus. It's ancient technology.
Safety is one of those it's one of those questions that will always be there, right? 40 years ago, how safe is this vehicle? Today, how safe is this vehicle? Subaru definitely carries the weight of being a very safe vehicle because they've had that heritage. But in today's world, I would say most everything is a fairly safe vehicle. It's not like, even 10 years ago, that's a difference, because you could go look at a car and go look at a different car and drastically different on how they're built. But the way that manufacturing is done in today's world, and how manufacturers have all accelerated. Daniel's mom just got that Genesis. That is an incredible vehicle that I can't believe a Hyundai factory made that, but they did. And you look at the airbag quality, you look at the overall quality of the build, they're very nice vehicles. I wouldn't be scared to drive that vehicle. The main thing you're looking for in today's world with safety concerned is active safety, not passive. When it comes to passive, when I say that, that's like airbags, seat belts, things that just routinely come on a vehicle. When I say active safety, that's like Subaru's eyesight system. That's the pre-collision
Thing that yelled at
technology. No, so that's driver focus is the one that looks at your eyes. It has an infrared sensor that actually scans your face and actually watches where your eye movement is.
It's kind of creepy.
It is a little creepy. It's a very neat product, but it is a little creepy. But that's the main concern in today's world is when you look at active safety, what actually works.
Yeah.
That's what you got to look for, because Subaru's proven it time and time again about how well their eyesight system works. My wife has a MDX. It has all of the Acura stuff in it, all the safety stuff. It does not work as well as the Subaru. I promise you. The adaptive cruise control control is, I hate it. The Subaru's is very smooth and even and how it works. And granted, I don't have a brand new Acura. It's 3 years old, but still, it's safety technology of the same year model. And I had a 2018 Forester, and I loved that car. It was a very, very good vehicle. But that's what you need to look for when you're looking at a vehicle is when you look at safety features, it's not so much about its crash rating anymore, because for the most part, everybody has a good crash rating. I mean, Tesla rewrote the whole way that they do safety testing now. If you absolutely want a safe vehicle, Tesla's probably the safest one on the road currently.
I kind of made a joke, but it's true. I've had this conversation before. Like, I have a Lexus that's a 2016, 2017, and the technology is ancient when you compare it to anything else right now.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I've looked, and they're not really updating the technology that much. Like, I got in an Ascent, and really the only thing that's keeping me from it is I'm so used to a higher up vehicle, and I just need to like jack it up on some big tires or something.
So
but
the new Ascent's going to be a lot more updated.
Okay.
So they're bringing the bigger radio in the vehicle. The outside's going to change a little bit. The 2023 Ascent's definitely going to be, it's a refresh, not a complete redesign, but the technology that is in it is getting updated, because Subaru's been, they've always been followers in innovation. And for a little while, they were starting to lead in innovation, especially when it came to car-connected services and active safety features. And now we're starting to not regress, but just kind of starting to get back behind the ball a little bit. And I think part of it's been because of COVID. It's hard to push money towards design costs when you're struggling in production. So
are y'all doing an electronic vehicle? Or have one?
Electric.
Electronic, whatever.
Their vehicle is definitely electronic.
Electric.
Yes. So we have the Subaru Solterra coming out.
Okay.
Our first one should be here next month. They're not going to be inventoried. These cars are already sold. We only got 4 pre-orders for the car. EV technology, it's a hard vehicle to purchase right now.
Yeah.
Because you either go buy a Tesla, or in my opinion, you don't buy anything else. Because everything else is not comparable. Like the Solterra, it's a great vehicle. I'm glad Subaru's doing it, but probably get in trouble for saying this. But 200 miles is not enough. It's just not.
God,
We
no.
did a whole episode all about the I'm going to call it electronic, the electric
EV
vehicles.
vehicles.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle thing. Like, I know me, I'm terrible about getting gas as it is. So how am I going to remember to charge a vehicle?
Yeah.
So I'm very curious, because I think it was very much a buzz, and we've had this cycle where it's been a buzz, but you're right. It's either you have a Tesla or you're getting those gas guzzlers.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a long haul driver. I love driving. I love long road trips.
Yeah.
And all of my kids are like, the closest child I have is still a 6-hour drive away. And 200 miles isn't going to cut it. It's just not.
No. Well, and Tesla's made it so unique for the EV experience, because typically if you're going to go spend $80,000 on a brand new vehicle, and it's an electronic vehicle, you probably know what you're getting yourself into. If you don't, then that's your fault for not studying enough. But I don't mean to be that brazen, but it's a very true testament. Because if I'm going to go spend $80,000, you bet your butt I've done all of my research on what I'm getting myself into, what they act like, everything like that. So my best friend lives in Las Vegas. Tesla is very much more pronounced there than it is here. Like when you go to a charging station it's filled, and there's 14 other Teslas sitting there waiting to get charged. That's the biggest issue, is what we've always talked about, is infrastructure, and that's another conversation into itself. But when you look at that, the cool part about Tesla is they definitely carry that 300 to 400 mile range, which is more accessible. And then when you put in a route plan, they actually pinpoint how much to charge, what your wait time is, and what your overall time from point A to point B could be, and then comparatively to a gas vehicle if you were just filling up. And a lot of times it's only a 30 to 45 minute difference. So like a 6-hour trip, maybe a 6.5 hour trip, because you don't always sit there and get it to 80%. That's the big thing, where people think that you've got to sit at this station. Sometimes you'll stop into a station for 10 minutes on on a supercharger, and it puts 30% on it on a Tesla, and you're fine. That's the really neat part. But nobody else has done that yet. And so I get it where the government's come in and mandated that we've got to do this green, efficient bill, which I guess let's not get started on all of that either. But when you do that, but you don't create the infrastructure to support that, it's not going to go over very well, because I personally am not ready for an EV type of vehicle. The Solterra is very cool. It's a great looking vehicle. If you're an in-town person, beautiful vehicle for you. If you're not, and you like to go to Florida or whatever, it's not the vehicle for you. It's really not.
Yeah, I mean, it's like our business, is that not every product is right for you. Not every investment's right. We want to get to know you. That's with y'all. You need to be able to advise them on what's going to be the best vehicle, because, your best friend may have an Ascent, but you may be better in a Forester.
Right.
In the Memphis market, what's the hot Subaru vehicle that everyone seems to be really wanting?
Outbacks and Foresters.
Okay.
Ascents have slowed a little bit.
And that's the biggest one, right?
Yeah, yeah. Ascents, me and Tyler talked about it probably a couple of weeks ago. I've noticed that
Tyler is the
general manager at Hacks Crossland Subaru, and I noticed that a lot of our orders have or deposits or whatever it is have not been on Ascents. They've been inventory that comes in and then they sell the same day they get here, but they were never pre-sold. So I was like, why is that? And I really think it's price point. You come in and look at an Outback and it's 36, 37, 38. Come in and look at an Ascent and you want a decked out Ascent, it's $48,000. That's a lot of money, and that's before taxes. You're looking at $53,000, $54,000 once it's all said and done. And that's one of those things that it's harder to bite the bullet on that type of thing for an Ascent. And I think technology on it's been lacking a little bit. That's why the redesign the refresh is going to help out on that side. But yeah, definitely Outbacks and Foresters. Forester has always been hot.
And y'all have racing vehicles, don't you? I swear, like back in the day, Subaru was big on street racing or something.
Yeah, so we have a BRZ and a WRX. So WRX stands for World Rally Experimental. It came out in the 90s. And
see, I'm stuck in the 90s.
Subaru has a very deep rally bloodline. We've won a lot of championships when it comes to World Rally racing. So
cool. And y'all love dogs too.
Yes. Dogs are a very, very big thing.
Yeah.
I was really, really disappointed. When we came out on Monday, we wanted to meet the pug, and the pug wasn't there.
Oh, Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Walter.
My wife is a huge fan of pugs, and so I was excited.
Are you?
My wife is a huge fan of pugs, so we were really looking forward to seeing to meeting Walter. But he had already gone home, I guess, by the time we got there the other day. So.
Yeah, Walter is he's probably selling cars 2 or 3 days a week. So.
I mean, that's got to be cool. You buy a car from a pug.
Yeah.
But that's again, circling back, y'all are very community oriented. You're always doing something. And I know that y'all got 2 stores here locally in Memphis. And so that new one just opened, 3 years ago?
Yeah, so we have 2 Subaru stores in Memphis, a Chevy, a Nissan, and then we have a 3rd Subaru store in St. Louis.
Cool.
So the Keresis own 3 Subaru stores. Our owner is on the national board with Subaru, so it's very neat because we get a lot of people from Subaru of America, or we've even had Subaru of Japan at our dealership before, which is very unique because of the processes that the Keresis like to run, and our CSI typically tends to be higher in the zone just because of how...
Okay, so when you say CSI, I'm thinking crime scene investigation. So tell me what that is.
I was about to back up off that. I figured customer service index.
Okay.
So it's a survey is what it is.
Okay.
And everybody hates the word survey. So, but it's a big part of what Subaru is looking for. And nowadays it's changed quite a bit. It's not so much about the overall survey. It's literally one question. Would you recommend this dealership? That is the only question that the survey really reflects on, to Subaru at least. And that's where it's been a struggle because when you put something on a 10-point scale and you make everything sound great from 7 and above, Subaru doesn't look at like that. They're a Japanese manufacturer, and this isn't to create a cultural side of it, but they really do believe in pass or fail.
Yeah.
Like, they're big on that. And if it's a 8, it's fail. Like, it's over with. Anything below 8, it's done. It's
really?
Yep. It's like they're like, oh, that's not negative. It is. It is.
So something I didn't know, and I want to maybe y'all, I mean, obviously you know this, but maybe you did too, but some of our listeners may not. I didn't realize that when you're just like perusing on a website and you just start playing around and building a vehicle.
And you click that button.
You click that button, and then all of a sudden your phone starts ringing or you get an email. It's because it's like on y'all's, it's going directly to your store, and then there's a real human.
I did internet sales for probably around three-ish years, somewhere in there. The biggest thing I can say on that is I don't know why people tend to be completely oblivious to when they click on something online that somebody's going to call you, but treat it like healthcare. If you go shop for healthcare, what are you going to get? 14 phone calls a day about healthcare.
Yep.
That's what it's like at a dealership, because we have turns. When you click that and you put in your phone number, did you not think that somebody would reach out to you if you did that? That's the part of it. Now, that doesn't happen a lot, though. It really doesn't. Most people that are online do understand what they're doing. Occasionally, you'll get that person that's like, no, I was at cars.com and I didn't actually do anything. It just did it for me. It still doesn't work quite like that, but I can understand where you may have misclicked something. That's understandable. But for the most part in today's world, you don't see a lot of miscommunication on that side.
Yeah.
When I first started the internet, it was more prevalent. People would want to know more information and give me all their information, and then you'd call them and they go, why are you calling me? And you're like, well, I saw you were online, and it's that awkward conversation of, I'm just trying to help, don't hurt me.
Now I just go as far as I can until they want my information. I'm like, nope, you're not getting
exactly.
Nope.
Okay, side story.
So we can see that as well. So the way your website works is you can actually see who visits, how many visitors you have, and the clicks on the page. So what vehicles have been clicked, what vehicles haven't. You can look at that, which also doesn't do anything towards you. It just gives us the knowledge to know where we're marketable, because it helps, because 90% of consumers in today's world do go online before they ever put a foot on the lot.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they actually click on anything or send anything into a internet source, but they have been online, they have looked at things. It doesn't matter if it's Subaru.com, the local dealership's website, or Consumer Reports. They have done some type of research before they come onto the lot.
And y'all have to, even if somebody puts in there like Seymour Butts, like you have to deal with Seymour Butts because it's your job.
That's
and
correct.
Even though it's fake.
I have spoke to numerous Seymour Butts.
I have.
Are you Seymour Butts?
I have no. I don't give my phone number on when I go on a website. If they ask for my phone number, I say no. But part of the reason that I don't is because there is a person out there who uses my phone number when they go to websites to research stuff.
I'm going to start using your phone
I'm
number.
constantly getting text messages from real estate people and insurance people, because there is somebody out there. His name is Grover, or at least that's the name that he gives them. He gives them the name Grover and my phone number, and so I get calls and they're like, "Grover, are you still interested?" And I'm like, "I'm not Grover. This isn't Grover's phone number. Somebody's messing with you. Please take my phone number off your list." I've legitimately been I've had my phone number since 1999 or 2000 maybe. I've had my phone number for a long time, and I have seriously been considering changing my phone number to something new, because I can't stand how many Grover phone calls I get on a daily basis.
I get probably 4 phone calls a month from the same phone number for the last 6 years from this lady that keeps calling me and was like, "Where's Janice?" I'm like, I don't know how many times I gotta tell you, I've had this phone number for 16 years. There is no Janice here.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of wrapping up, what is your dream car?
That's a tough question.
Or if you got two or
Something that I will buy, or something that I will never buy.
It could be completely dream. Like if you had an endless check.
Genie in the bottle comes
whatever.
out and says, "I only grant wishes for cars. I'll give you one car, and that's all. That's your only wish." What car are you asking?
Probably a McLaren Senna. That's like a $1.8 million car.
I'll have to look that up. That sounds
It's a very
nice.
gorgeous vehicle. But yeah, my dream car that I would want even right now is a McLaren. I would like to buy it's a 650S. They're kind of expensive, but not ridiculously expensive. They're not $1 million cars, but the Senna is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I could have any car ever, that would be the car I'd like to have. That is a very, very, very cool car.
What about you, Katie?
I don't know.
You asked the question.
I'm asking our guest. Okay, I got one more. Do you think we're going to have flying cars in the near future?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're not going to be the Jetsons?
How many people have FAA license? How many people even know how to get an FAA license?
True. Yep.
So no, I do not think that will ever be a thing. It's very much more complicated because our wonderful government likes to, make sure the air is clear. So I don't think they're going to let people just kind of float up in the air.
Willy-nilly. Yep.
I'm on my way to work. I'm going to take a side route.
Oh, crap. There's a building.
I don't think that's going to be in the near future. I think eventually you'll have some type of quick transport through the air, but I don't think it'll be a commonality of vehicles actually floating around. No, I don't. Maybe this is something Japan's been on. So Japan's real big on magnetic trains. That's probably what they're going to go to for vehicles, creating a massive transit highway where it is a some type of magnetic based propulsion system. That'll be another idea. They have talked about it over there. A lot of things. Did you ever watch the show like 2030 or 2050 or whatever it was? It used to come out on Discovery Channel.
No.
It's about technology that they knew about, like 3D printers when they were coming out, printing organs, things like that. That's one of the things that they've always talked about is magnetic propulsion is going to be something that's a little bit more friendly because of how it creates electricity itself and static electricity and things like that. So, but yeah, I don't think we're going to be floating through the air anytime soon.
Okay, what about
I want a jetpack, okay? I want a jetpack.
What about
The Air Force has those.
self-driving cars?
Yeah, so
I mean, it sounds like Subaru's already getting close to it with the like watching your eyes and like everything.
so the best vehicle I've been in is Tesla with autopilot. It definitely is a vehicle you could probably fall asleep in.
Would you fall like personally? Would you trust it?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yeah, personally, I would. There's a lot of people that are concerned
I mean,
with
that
because
TV show
it's a
Upload, he
computer.
dies.
I don't like it. Yeah, no, I get it, but I've been in one. I've been all the way around Las Vegas in one that has it, and I'm telling you, it's a very remarkable thing on even how the current autopilot works. It's
Heck,
very
some of those may
interesting.
drive better than the person.
I would agree.
Well, listen,
they definitely drive better than me because I'm a little bit aggressive. When
Yeah.
I'm all for
I
getting,
hate coming into Carville. Let me tell
getting
you.
I'm all for getting self-driving cars here in this city because we got a lot of people that need to stop
We either
driving.
need self-driving cars or bumper
Yes.
cars.
I think every Nissan out there needs to be replaced, but especially on that South 240 loop, it's a little scary on how they drive. But
Yeah.
I've never seen on the interstate driving between here and Memphis, driving between Collierville and Memphis on Bill Morris. I've never seen a Challenger going less than 100 miles an hour.
They fly.
They all, it's crazy.
so Dodge announced that they stopped making them.
Oh wow.
This next year is their last year for the Challenger and the Charger.
Oh gosh. Okay. Anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to share to the masses?
But I guess working a deal at a dealership, that's something we haven't really talked about. Most dealerships today are pretty straightforward on how they do their deals. That typical, don't believe what the dealership's telling you is kind of gone away. At least where I work, definitely. If there was a way that I could do something for you, I would do it. I'm not saying when I say no, it's not because I want to say no. It's because I can't do it. Because if I could do it, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Because our goal is to make sure you're happy and that you're doing business with us. So that's where it has changed quite a bit on that side, where that typical, you got to come in and haggle and do that. It's not like that. It's a very straightforward process. You know what's going on in the market. You know how it's going. As long as you feel like the dealership that you're working with is straightforward and honest with their approach of how they're selling their vehicle to you, I think they're doing a good job. If they're not doing that and you've got a $10,000 markup in it, I don't even know why you're sitting in that dealership right now.
What do you think was the catalyst for that change? Because it is a change. It's something that it didn't used to be that way. Do you think the internet drove that, or
The internet definitely had something to do with that, definitely, because the expanse of information always changes everything, and the internet is something that, I mean, you carry around a device in your pocket that has more computing power than a computer in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you showed this to somebody on Wall Street in 2002, they would freak out. I mean, absolutely freak out. I mean, I don't even have to download an app. There's an actual stock exchange that Apple does for you.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you look for? I mean, your PE ratios are there. Everything you want to look at is in that, and you didn't even download anything yet. So it's crazy the amount of information you can attain so simply nowadays. So it's definitely changed it. It changes the way people buy things, changes the way people spend their money. And when I say that, I mean that differently on when you buy and spend, because people spend money in a lot of different ways than when you actually actively go buy something, because Amazon is a big testament to that. Spending money, people are more willing to go to Amazon and get it shipped to their front door than they are to go to Kroger.
Very true.
Sometimes I don't like going to Kroger. I get on Amazon, just order it real quick.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think it's changed too, because the stereotypical sleazy car salesman, that's very rare now. It's more of a friendly person, like, hey, I'm trying to find what's best for you. What are you looking for?
When we hire, that's a thing too. We call it the used car salesman type of mentality. Like, hey, get over here, buy a car. Like that crusty type of sound. If you need to look it up, there's something called the Honey Badger. He's an ad for a dealership up north. It's hilarious. If you want to watch it, it's very funny. But that's what people try to stay away from. And when we hire people, we're definitely doing that. So
you're saying the big thing, Jim Karras, there's no sleazy little like, hey, come over here.
I can't promise for the entire organization, but at least at Subaru now. But it's been tough with hiring though. Millennials, and I'm sure that's in anything. I mean, I am a millennial, but I don't characteristically fit that mold. My mom, she was kind of very tough on me. But that's the hard part when you bring millennials in, is that they talk the game, but they don't perform the game. That's the problem. Is when you bring somebody in, they might know what they're doing, they might have a degree, they might have everything that you're looking for in a candidate, but when they actually come in to actively do the job, they fall short.
Just to be fair to you millennials, I'll throw y'all...
You're sitting in a room with three of them.
Yeah, I know. Just to be fair to y'all, you're actually... The job market now is filled with Gen Z. There are a lot of Gen Zs that are out of college now and looking for jobs, and I think Gen Z a lot has given millennials a bad name because everybody just thinks, it's the millennials. But there's a new generation that is.
See, Gen Z would never walk in and try to work at where I work. So I am speaking specifically about millennials. Millennials, I'm talking about that 25 to 35 range. That's what I'm talking about. Gen Z, that's a whole nother conversation. They want to be on TikTok and do their thing on that. So, but yeah, it's tough trying to find people because you get a 28-year-old in that you would think would be more grown up, whatever that may mean, and they're not. They come in and talk really good, and then they start to work, and you go, "What did we do?" It's tough because the car industry it's a very hard business to grasp because there's a lot of moving parts. There's the sales side, there's the management side, there's the financial side, and then you have service, which is the relationship side of continuing that service, which is cumulatively it's a lot to do because like for me, not only do I need to know my banks, but I need to know how to talk to people. I need to know how to treat people. I need to know how to resolve situations, things like that a typical manager would do. But it's not something that's what I feel like is trained as much as it should be at a college level. And now we're getting on something completely different. But
it's something we harp a lot about. And it's the relationship. It's as you said, you have done many different roles within your company, but it helps you that at any given moment, yes, you're the finance guy, but if you need to go sell a car to somebody, if you need to go deal with the service issue, you've got the skill sets. And I think that's the hard lesson that a lot of people don't know is you may have a role, but you need to be willing to do whatever it takes for the people.
Yeah, there's not a role. I think that's where a lot of millennials fall into as well, is that here's what you told me my job is, and I don't go outside that parameter. That's not what I'm not where I'm at because I stayed within my parameter. I definitely made people upset because I got outside of my parameter, but in doing that, it made me gain knowledge and then prove my worth to the people that were making decisions for promotions, things like that. Because if you do your bare minimum, you're only going to get the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And it's hard to teach that to somebody that's grown, because if they've been treated that way 28 years of their life, and not to push blame on the parents of that, he or she child. It's one of those things that my parents never raised me that way. If you want something, you have to go earn it. You have to go work and do the job to get what you want. And no matter if it's something like a McLaren or if it's a Civic that you want to go buy, you either way have to work for it. And that's where it's been a loss for us, because our sales force is aging. It's getting older and getting more difficult to find people that want to get in it. Commission sales is a terrifying thing to hear.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the Carises do really well with it, but it is. I mean, you bring a 25-year-old and you say, well, yeah, I mean, you don't really get a paycheck, you get commission. And they go, oh, my God, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It's tough.
And especially in this market, it's terrifying because they know that people are going to slow down on buying cars because of interest rates. But that's where, on the financial side, that's where you have that emergency fund. You have a commission job. You got 6 months worth of living expenses.
Well, look at you bringing it back around.
There you go. That's what we do.
We brought a guy in from AT&T. My wife works at AT&T. We brought a guy in from the Collierville store 3 months ago. And he was, he wanted to try it, wanted to do different. It's a little different. He actually wanted to do it, but he was terrified because of that. His first month actually selling, he made 4 times what he made at AT&T.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's the type of thing. He's not terrified anymore. That's what we tell people. Yeah. But that's the hard part. Like, we can't find people that want to come actively do the job because it's a terrifying experience to learn, how do I get paid? What does that look like?
Yeah.
It's very similar to like what this is. I mean, when you do an advisement on wealth management, if you advise incorrectly, it's not, your dividends aren't going to look as good as they would have if you advised a different way. So, it's the same type of premise on that side.
Okay, well, this has been so
Great.
much fun. Thank you so much for being on the show with us. And Court, maybe one day you can go over and see him and get your Subaru. I'm sure he will help you out.
I mean, Cam and I are over here driving like 10-year-old, 11-year-old cars, 12-year-old cars. Who knows when I'll be able to actually buy my own car, but certainly Subaru will be on my list whenever I do.
Perfect.
That and Mercedes. I'm going to get that Mercedes.
That's what my wife wants.
Yeah.
She wants a G-Wagon. I said, no.
Lord,
Not happening.
Well, thanks for coming by, Caleb.
No problem, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, I think that was awesome. I really enjoyed talking to him and getting some insight on the car industry.
He was a fantastic guest.
Yeah.
I'm
I
so
I
angry
found
I didn't
myself
have a mic.
sitting and just listening a lot and not talking, which, I mean, probably
Which is
people
rare
are
for
fine
you.
with. So
Okay, well, no bullseye.
we're not going to bullseye this.
There's, again, some great nuggets that were in this episode, so hopefully it was good information for you.
So all we're doing is basically sitting around waiting for the... Oh, there it is. It's the closing bell. Ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of yet another episode of the Bullcast Podcast. If you liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to go to your favorite subscription service and sign up to have our podcast beamed directly to your favorite listening device every single Thursday at noon. If you'd like to find out more about Cameron, Katie, and Court, please feel free to go to our website. That is bullcastpodcast.com. You can leave a comment, suggest a topic, suggest a guest, or even, hey, apply to be a guest yourself if you want to. We'll try and get back to you if you touch base with us. If you like pictures, we're going to have some pictures of us with our guest today on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is at Bullcast Podcast, and we also have a Twitter handle that's at Bullcast Podcast as well. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, Katie, Cameron, and I all work for a place called Pickler Wealth Advisors.
We do.
If you'd like to find out more about where we work, what we do, find out about our amazing team and our boss, David Pickler, go to our website, picklerwealthadvisors.com.
That is advisors with an O,
Not an E.
not an E.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have given you everything you need to go forth and be merry. So for now, I'm Court,
I'm Katie.
I'm Cam.
and we done.